All right. Let's begin. So, hello everyone, and welcome to another exclusive AMA, hosted by Chainreach Globals, and we're delighted to have you all, with us today. And as we sit down with Lucas and the team behind 10x, a mobile-first trading platform focused on making perpetual trading simpler and more intuitive for everyday users. So today's discussion will dive into the vision behind the project, the technology powering the platform, its growth strategy, future plans, and how the team plans to differentiate itself in an increasingly competitive market. So, Lucas, thank you for taking the time to join us today. We're excited to learn more about 10x and hear your insights also on evolving the trading landscape and also exploring what's next for the project. So, welcome to Change Globals. We're glad to have you here, Lucas.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on, and for all of you guys that have joined the live stream so far. I appreciate that a lot, and definitely pumped to hear questions you guys have, ideas you have. On my side, want to use a lot of this time to sort of understand what you guys want to see in a trading app, how you feel about the trading experiences that you sort of have in front of you today, the features you want, the features you hate, the features maybe you're just starting to think about. But just to give a little introduction of myself and my background, I've been in California my whole life, and I have been working in crypto full time for about 5 years now. Even from when I was very young, I always just loved to trade, always was trying trading apps, wanted to find great day trading strategies, the same stuff I'm sure a lot of you guys have done, pivoted into crypto and 2019 or something like that. Started doing most of my trading there, got burned a bunch, lost a bunch of money, made a bunch, lost a bunch, kind of over and over. I'm sure many of you guys resonate with that. Was a part of all the things that didn't go well and all the things that did go well, from Terra Luna to FTX, all these incidents, kind of that, up and down dopamine spike that we all sort of have felt in our trading journey. But, I started out building a consumer wallet called Croesus, was leading product there for years, and then moved over to Plume, Plume, the RWA chain. I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with that project, um, and began to do a lot of stuff with WorldCoin as well, the Sam Altman sort of proof of humanness blockchain, building mini apps inside of their ecosystem. Ended up building, 5 of the earlier consumer applications on WorldChain, and many of those have scaled to hundreds of thousands of downloads now. But, all along the way, I always just sort of wanted to build in the trading space. And I also felt that, growing up, one of the most annoying things about trading apps was just every trading app had different features it offered. You had to kind of piece together all the best ones to get the experience you wanted. It felt like, no single trading app was always keeping up with the latest features and really trying to kind of prioritize what the users wanted. They all had limitations, issues with getting money in, things you couldn't trade in certain countries, lengthy KYC processes that were often broken after you gave documentation. And so I decided I wanted to try and kind of solve a lot of these problems, with the rise of Hyperliquid over the past year or so, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. If you're not, Hyperliquid is essentially a new trading tool that's natively on the blockchain. It's its own chain, and it allows for trading both long and short selling of practically any asset you can think of. It uses a kind of novel derivatives contract called a perpetual. I'm sure a lot of you guys have traded, futures or options contracts, or used leverage in general in your trading lives. And so this is kind of an evolution of those concepts into something that we think is a lot more, beneficial to the everyday trader, one that allows for a lot lower fees, allows for more markets, more composability, a lot more global access. One of the really great things about Hyperliquid is, it's really allowing anyone in any country to get into any asset they want. So if you want to be a part of the SpaceX IPO and you're in India or Japan or China, wherever you may be, you can do it in our app, and you can do it on Hyperliquid. To be clear, our app is in part built on top of Hyperliquid. So we're sort of enabled by the innovations they've made. But what we're really in the business of doing is, taking the best possible trading tools, bringing them to you in a way that's really easy to sign up for, a way that's extremely low fees, low friction, very consistent, and presenting them in a way that is sensible and logical and doesn't require a bunch of fresh learning. And so we've built this as a WorldCoin mini app, which now has 40,000 downloads. We've done millions in retail trading volume already. And we're just getting started with our iOS Apple app. So our app is, live inside of the iOS App Store. It's at 10x Trading. You can find it in our Twitter bio. But I'll stop there for a moment and let folks jump in.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So let's move into the next question. So let's talk about the mobile first vision. So obviously, 10x is often described as a mobile first trading experience. So why was the mobile accessibility such an important focus from the beginning, and how does that decision influence product development today?
Yeah, totally. No, it's a good question. It really comes down to the fact that, people need to trade in live time. Markets move 24 hours a day. They move in the evenings. They move while you're having dinner. They move while you're in the gym. And they're mostly moving from news, especially for a lot of these assets. They're moving from global news. It could be things that, the US government says. It could be earnings reports by companies. It could be, events that companies are releasing news at. It could be, scams and hacks that happen. And a great trading interface has to be sort of ready for you to use at a moment's glance. And so we felt that going mobile is really the only way to kind of scratch that itch for a lot of users, so they can pull that out in the bathroom during dinner and make that trade if they need to. Or a similar scenario, they're pumping out weights in the gym and they see that Coinbase missed earnings and they want to get in quick. Their computer's not there. It's got to be mobile. And we had always had this aspiration of trying to make these kinds of more complex trading functionalities like leverage or like short selling a lot easier to use for the average person. And we think that the average person, is trending towards spending a lot more time on their phone than their computer. And a really easy trading interface would take place on a mobile device. And we had, built this out on WorldCoin as a mobile app too. And what we found is that, we were able to onboard a lot of users that had never, traded perpetuals. They didn't really understand leverage, but they did understand, what this app was offering them, even if they didn't understand all the terminology, everything going on behind the scenes. And we think a lot of that success was thanks to the fact that we were building mobile. But we looked around at what other apps are doing. Who's succeeding in these markets. Binance, Coinbase, Robinhood, Schwab, TD Ameritrade. Both stocks and crypto apps. And there's a very clear trend towards convenience in mobile. And so we wanted to kind of take the best of those apps, but then try and make it even simpler on mobile, pack in more powerful functionality that you probably can't get in those apps today, such as going 40x leverage, turning $1 into a $40 position. So you have way more upside on that trade. So if you have, a small account balance of, let's say, just $10 to play with, but you actually want to, put some real money on the line and have a chance of making real profits that might pay for dinner or help you pay for rent. The leverage we offer is a really easy way to do that. And it's all very mobile first. And we wanted to kind of take what Robinhood offers, what Coinbase offers, add better functionality, lower fees, and try and make it completely, borderless for any country with, much faster, much easier sign up. So, wherever you are in whatever country you're in, you can sign up for the 10x mobile app, in under 20 seconds. We don't require a government ID from you. We don't, sort of check all of your identity. You can just jump in and get started. And that's the way that, we think trading apps should be. And that's the way that they're trending.
That's amazing. I like the fact that your product is already made. Your trading app is already working, and the fact that you guys made it accessible for mobile users as well. because most projects they already down for an AMA, and with you know, let's say 75% like being ready for an AMA with um, a lot of features that are not set yet. So that's what I really like, the fact that you guys are already ready and you have all the features already down for it. So let's move on to the next question. Let's talk about the competitive advantage. So obviously, many traders already have direct access to Hyperliquid. So why should a user choose 10x instead of like interacting directly with Hyperliquid native interface instead?
Yeah, totally. You know, we had sort of begun this journey as a stocks app, really. And the stocks app wasn't actually running on Hyperliquid. It was running on Solana with X stocks. And we were, trying to give, really easy borderless access to US stocks. And what we realized was, users really want to play the markets. They don't really care that much about, voting rights or sort of like the material ownership of the company itself. They care about, the upside that the shares have. They want to speculate. And so we kind of rebuilt the whole app around that vision. And we felt that Hyperliquid was the best way to do that. And in looking at Hyperliquid, it was clear to us that Hyperliquid was very much sort of a sophisticated institutional like product, meaning, the vast majority of traders on there were, either professional traders or prop traders. They were working inside of funds, and that the retail adoption of Hyperliquid was still quite low and is still quite low. Over the last few months, obviously that has changed uh, relatively substantially, largely due to apps like us. But we wanted to take Hyperliquid and take something that we think was too complicated for most people. If you go natively on Hyperliquid and you try and get through a trade flow, one, getting your money in is very difficult. They have no on ramping. Two, the funding rates, the way that they package the information about like how the derivatives contracts work, we think is sort of a very steep learning curve for most people. They don't want to sort of really dive in and understand all of these things. They want an app that just sort of has their back and helps them not make bad decisions. And so that's really the goal here, was to take Hyperliquid and cut out the needless complexity, but preserve all the power that it has and repackage that in a way that the average user can easily jump in and take advantage of. So we've gone through a lot of effort to make sure that the deposit flows are easy for folks. They can get money into the app. They can understand what it means to use leverage. Like, what does it mean to use 10x leverage or 20x leverage? What does it mean for your downside? What does it mean for your upside? How easy is it to create a stop loss or a take profit order? Meaning, if the price of the asset goes up 10%, can I easily get out of that asset when I want to? Can I, cut my losses automatically if the price drops 10%? We wanted to sort of make all of these very simple point and click type experiences. And so that's really what the focus has been on, and why we believe that easier, beginner friendly mobile experience was necessary for Hyperliquid. We felt that most of the building effort in the space remained too complicated for the average trader. And because of that, it was going to be difficult for Hyperliquid to actually onboard normal traders who are currently, on Robinhood, for example, and showing a lot of my friends Hyperliquid who, trade stocks, have investments. They're just kind of totally blank faced as to like how to use these tools. And so we really wanted to see if we could make meaningful progress in kind of breaking down those barriers.
Absolutely. Okay, let's dive into the technology and the infrastructure. So can you walk us through the core architecture of the platform, and explain like how 10x leverages Hyperliquid's infrastructure while also creating its own unique like value proposition as well?
Yeah, totally. Our app uses a lot of things to kind of make the whole experience possible. For one, everyone is given their own smart wallet. We are partnered with Privy to power self custody wallets. So when you use 10x, you are using your own self custody wallet. You are not trusting us with your money. We don't manage users' funds. You retain full ownership over the money you have in the wallet. So there's no chance of us sort of going bankrupt or doing unresponsible things with your money, which obviously has been such a huge issue in the space for 10 plus years. And we use Privy to do that. So when you sign up for an account, we are creating a private key for you, and you are storing that with your email and your Apple Pay. Um, and then we're using gas abstraction. So when you're using our app, there's no gas fees at all. You don't have to worry about sort of placing transactions on the blockchain. We have a partner for gas abstraction as well. Um, we obviously, when you actually go ahead and make a trade, we directly settle that on Hyperliquid. So we're plugging right into the Hyperliquid APIs. So you get the same kind of deep liquidity, trust, consistency, and years of successful trading that Hyperliquid has built, and you can kind of rely on that. So we don't touch the execution flow very much to make sure that we can offer that same robustness. And what that means for users is you guys can trade USA stocks like Nvidia or Marvel or AMD or whatever you want, and you can do it with such low fees and great execution. Meaning you could place a $2 million trade, and you would only get a price impact of 0.04%, a small fraction of 1%, even at that size. And if you're trading $100, you're basically not going to pay any spread at all, which is really great. And if you go into your sort of favorite app like Robinhood, for example, and you make a trade, you'll see that your account balance drops by a little bit right away, and that's because they're kind of baking that fee in behind the scenes. It's not that there's no fee; it's actually quite a big fee. It's just that they don't call it a fee. So we really wanted to fundamentally improve on that, and we thought that plugging right into Hyperliquid was the best way for us to solve that problem. So when you make a trade, you really get out exactly the money you put in, and so we're very transparent around that, which we think is great. We also use a partner called 𝗖𝗛𝗔𝗓𝗚𝗟𝗢, and they've done a lot of really cool work around sourcing successful traders in the markets, putting all kinds of specific parameters around them. Like, are they always profitable? What is their biggest loss? Are they a choppy trader? Have they been consistent for months? Do they trade in a way that's kind of more human than algo? Meaning, like, are they trading 5 times a day, or are they trading 800 times a day? If they're trading 800 times a day, let's not use them, because the average trader isn't going to be able to make much use of a trader like that. And so what we've done with them is we've created really great trading ideas. So we show you what the best traders currently hold today in these markets, pulled directly from 30 of the most consistently successful traders in the world, and we show you their holdings, their bag, and you can take inspiration and copy those trades. So we plug into 𝗖𝗛𝗓 for that, and we've done a lot of custom work with them. But that's kind of a high level overview of how the app works. And we think you guys would get a lot of use out of it.
Absolutely. So let's talk about like the long-term differentiation. And we know that competition in the trading sector is fierce most of the time. And I'd like to know like what you believe will be like the key differentiator that allows 10x to build like a lasting brand, and also retain users over the long term.
Yeah, totally. I think to do that, I may kind of show the app a little bit, because I think it helps shed some light on the differentiation that we offer already. Hopefully, folks can see my screen already.
Yes,
Are
please.
you guys able to see it?
Yeah, we can. Yes, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, so our differentiation is really meant to be in the user experience. We think that making the app easy to use and intuitive, especially these more complex trading features, is really where the differentiation is. So when you arrive in the app, you can see your portfolio, the money you have. Worth noting, if you click the little hamburger menu, we have points up and running, so you can order your own points. Points is based on your trading volume. Um, You can explore assets. You'll see right here in my active positions, I have, a small position on SpaceX. I have a small position on this Chinese AI stock. Here is kind of those winning trader insights. So things that really great traders hold in today's markets. So you could click into one of these. This is, recommending that you go short Solana. You can see a dominant score here of 27%. What does that mean? That means out of the 30 wallets that we're tracking, which are constantly rotating as the most successful traders, 27% of their combined aggregate portfolio, meaning if they all together have a $40 million portfolio, 27% of that portfolio is actively short Solana right now. And so you can kind of get in with them and make that trade. We offer, a lot of different assets. So you have your popular assets. These are things that people want to trade. So for example, you can already trade SpaceX inside of the stock. Here it is. We actually had SpaceX live weeks before the IPO. So you could have speculated on SpaceX before it even hit the markets, which I did and make good money on. I shorted it through that time period. I thought the price was too high and would crash down upon the IPO, which I was momentarily very wrong, but in the long term was right. So we have lots of popular stocks here. You can trade like all the AI stocks. You can trade a lot of interesting commodities like gold, like natural gas, for example. And if you actually wanted to make a trade, then you could, go into an asset you want. Let's say we want to trade some crypto. Not a pretty day in the markets here, but for example, you want to trade Bitcoin, right? You can view all the time frames. How's the asset doing? You can learn about the token. What is this? What's the purpose of the token at all? Get a sense of how popular it is, get a sense of the funding rate. And then if you want to trade it, the first decision you make is, do you want to go long or do you want to go short? Which means, do you want to bet that the asset is going to go up in value, which is obviously what most people are used to doing. Most people buy things because they think it's going to go up. Or do you think it's going to go down? In that case, you could say short. And short means, you will profit if the price of the asset drops. So you can bet in either direction. So let's say we want to go long in this instance, maybe short because it's more interesting. You could pick an amount of money you want to use. Let's say you want to make $25. Enter that amount. Now the leverage part is really interesting here, right? This is your sort of your amplifier on your trade. So this basically means if it's at 16x, which you can see there on the right side, that means your $25 is being multiplied by 16. So your market position is actually, $25 times 16. So, well over like $300, which is pretty interesting. So this kind of allows you to get more skin in the game. You can take a small amount of money and you can have an actually large position that could make you a lot of money. Because this means, if I'm at 25x, if I'm at $25 with, let's say, 10x leverage, my position size is $250. So if the price of Bitcoin goes up just 1%, I'm up $2.5, right? Which is much better than I would have been if I just had a $25 position without leverage, because then I would have only made a couple pennies. So it's a really nice way to get more profits out of every trade. And it allows you to sort of demonstrate how sure you are that, you're right about the trade, and you get a lot more upside. One thing that we really like is how easy it is to manage your risk here. So let's say I want to continue with this $25 at 10x leverage. I can add my, take profit and my stop loss here. So these orders will automatically execute if the price reaches the target. So right now I'm setting my stop loss. Let's say, because I'm going short, the higher the price of Bitcoin, I start to lose money. So I might want to get out if Bitcoin gets up to 61%, which means I'd be down 39% of my whole position. I can set my take profit here, right? So as Bitcoin drops, I'm making more and more money. Let's say I want to double my whole position. I could just send this all the way to the right. And now I'll automatically be getting out of this trade if either of these things happen. So if Bitcoin drops 40%, I'm going to be out. If Bitcoin goes up to 100%, meaning my position value, I'll be out at that point. So now I don't have to worry about like waking up and seeing that I've been liquidated, which is a huge problem on Hyperliquid in general. And then I could go ahead and confirm that, right? I can see the summary of my trade, and I can just easily swipe to execute the trade. And it will show up right here in my active position. So now we have this fresh Bitcoin position. It's 10x leverage. It's going short, and I can see how it's doing. We're already up 3 cents, which is really nice. I can see my take profit and my stop loss. I could easily edit these right here if I want to. I could, increase the size of my trade if I want. So if I decided I'm actually more sure than I was when I made the trade and I want to add money, I could, easily just go ahead and add another $15 to the trade. This could be some kind of news that came out, for example. I could, change my take profits very easily, or I could just go ahead and close the trade. I've decided I'm wrong. I just want to be out. I could close the whole thing, and I could do this all in, a matter of a few seconds. So that is kind of the bread and butter of the app. You can scroll through all the assets we support here. There's hundreds of them. There's all your favorite AI stocks. There's all your favorite cryptos. There's all your favorite commodities. These are all tradable with great liquidity. You get your history here. You can see everything you've ever done in the app. There's a nice little referral system. So you can earn 40% of trading profits that any of your friends generate for a lifetime. So you just share your link and you can go ahead and text it to people, share it on your Twitter, do whatever you want with that link. If anyone clicks on that link to sign up for the app, they will count as a referral for you, and you'll start making, 40% of all the trading fees that they ever generate. And we've had a lot of users make pretty good money here. You can see I've referred a number of traders. They haven't traded much money, but your profits can really start to stack up. We also, if folks are curious, just added prediction markets here. This is kind of in beta. So a lot of folks are, keen to speculate on the World Cup games. You can see we have all the games here. They're much lower fees than Kalshi or Poly Market. So you can trade these at, a tenth of the cost that you can on those major prediction apps. So we could go in here, we could trade South Korea, right? We think South Korea is going to win the game. 60 contracts, $60 position. Really quite easy to do. But yeah, so our differentiation, we think, really lies in, the ease of use and consistency. When you get into our app, you're going to know what to do. You're going to know how to do it. Things are going to work the way you want them to. Sign up is going to be very quick and easy. The fees are going to be the lowest you've probably ever experienced. It's an app that's really built for traders to win. When we kind of looked at the trading space, we felt that most trading apps were built to extract value. They were built to maximize fees, maximize profits. They weren't built to help traders develop into profitable traders. And so our app sort of flips that model on its head. It says, how can we help people actually start to make money trading? And we believe that if we can help them do that, ultimately they'll stick around and they'll make money for us too. So we built this to kind of grow with traders, with the fundamental belief that all of you guys, have the ability to make profitable trades. You just need the tools and the user experience to sort of help you get into that rhythm.
Absolutely. I really like the fact that it's easy to place a trade, and the features that are in the app, and also I also like the fact about the bet, the games also. Could you put it back so the audience can see as well?
Yeah, totally. So to get over here, by the way, you can click the little hamburger button on the top right of the screen. That's your menu. And then you'll see predictions here, which is in beta. And beta is really just that on Hyperliquid, these prediction markets. Some have enough liquidity to trade, some don't. We don't let you trade anything that doesn't have enough liquidity, but that's the reason we call it beta. And then once you're in here, you can sort, via the World Cup, via the NBA. The NBA sort of just ended, so there isn't really any active markets there, but all the World Cup games are here. You can see the South Korea position that I just opened. Looks like since I opened that, people think South Korea is less likely to win, so I'm down almost $1, but that's okay. You can, for any of these games, you can bet who's going to win, or you can bet that there's going to be a draw. So, for this South Africa versus South Korea, you can come in here, you can see the odds of each. So here's the chart for South Korea or the chart for South Africa. You can see, folks thought that South Africa is sort of dropping in terms of chances to win. They're down to just 15% chance. The draw, on the other hand, is up to 23%. So people think there's a 23% chance that you'll win if you bet on the draw. And then for South Korea, people think South Korea is going to win this game, and they've thought more so over the past day quite rapidly. And so the way this works, we spell it out really clearly for you. We felt that, a lot of these markets kind of made it complicated to understand like what is a prediction market bet and how does this work. So it's very simple. We spell it out for you. 61 cents buys one contract. If this outcome is right, each contract will be worth $1, right? So the cost of
Well,
this
that's a
is
nice bet
61
because
cents.
South Africa can play shit, to be honest. So let's for
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
questions, you could ask questions about it. Yeah.
So you got cut out there a bit.
Yeah. No, I think it's the connection. Can you hear me now?
I
I think
think
it's
you're
the
back now.
connection.
Continue. I can hear you now.
You can hear me now.
Yes, go for it.
Okay. Okay. So, guys, obviously you watched the demonstration Lucas gave, so you can also ask questions about that when it's time for the community question. So, let's move to the next question. Uh, okay, let's talk about the future of on-chain trade then. So, as a decentralized finance continue to evolve, where do you like see the future of like the on-chain trading heading over, the next 3 to 5 years, and how does 10x plan to position itself, you know, within that future?
Yeah, we see it playing out in a couple ways. I think, one really great thing that's coming for on-chain trading is truly borderless trading. It's already begun, but this idea that everybody in every country is going to be able to access every asset without a bunch of barriers to entry is what we're really excited about. So I think even up until now, so many folks ask, where can I trade SpaceX? Where can I trade US stocks? Or if they're inside of the USA, they ask, where can I trade, South Korean stocks? Where can I trade Chinese AI stocks? And on-chain trading is, very quickly solving that problem for people and letting them trade any global market they want, without jumping through hoops, opening new accounts, paying 5% fees on trades. So that's one thing. I think thing two is essentially entirely new markets are arriving on chain to trade that won't be available anywhere else. So, for example, one of the coolest parts about Hyperliquid in our app is that because of the way that perpetuals are built, anything can really be speculated on. Meaning, if you can think of a number that you think will go up or down, that can theoretically become a market. So it could be, how many inches of rain California is going to get, or how many babies will be born in the world over the next 10 days, or any stat you can think of could theoretically have a market on the blockchain. And so we think that there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff to speculate on that you're not going to be able to find anywhere else in kind of the traditional finance world. And I think the inclusion is going to be a massive part of this. Most of these modern on-chain solutions are just so much easier to sign up for. For the longest time, there was this benefit of crypto wallets being no KYC, sort of like anyone can join. But the problem was like getting money into that app and learning how to use that app sort of diminished the value of the no KYC part. And so we think that's going to continue to get easier and easier and easier with time. I think that thirdly, social trading and AI trading are going to land on chain on the blockchain. Meaning, if you want to make trading strategies using Claude or ChatGPT, the best way to do that is going to be on the blockchain because your AI is going to have a much easier time making trades on the blockchain. It's going to prefer the fee structure. It's going to prefer the transparency, and it's going to be able to act a lot more autonomously on the blockchain than it is in the traditional finance world. And so, I'm sure a lot of you guys over the next year will use the blockchain to run, your own AI generated strategies, which will be really cool. And I think that also in terms of social trading, when like you saw in our social trading feature, the beautiful part about the blockchain is everyone's wallets are findable, which means that you can kind of see what everyone else is doing, which gives way to much better social trading opportunities than exist on TradFi, where everyone's account is sort of separated. It's not shown. The only people that can see it is the company themselves. If they want to show you that data, it's their choice. There's a bunch of regulation around it. And so we think that, folks are increasingly going to start just delegating their trading to traders that they think are really profitable, and they're going to stop kind of trying to pick winners all by themselves. And so we're trying to kind of lean into that trend as well. But those are the major trends we think are coming, and would love to open this up to questions that you guys have.
Absolutely. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, this is gonna be my second and last question, and then we'll head on to the community. So, let's talk about the roadmap and upcoming development. So, could you give us like a preview of what coming next for 10x? Are there like any major features or integration or strategic initiative that users should be excited about?
Yeah, totally. A bunch of things. Obviously, we're working day and night on this. We have lots of things we want to do. I think most immediately and maybe least excitingly is better ways to get money into the app. We want to make sure that no matter what country you're in, no matter what payment method you have on hand, you're able to easily deposit without paying a lot of fees. So we're working on, more localized trading and funding opportunities for you, whatever country you're in. So your debit card, your credit card, your bank account, your crypto wallet, your peer-to-peer payment app. These things vary a lot country to country, and we want to make sure that we're supporting all of the relevant ones for you guys, whatever country you're in. So that's one thing we're urgently working on. Number two is better trading insights, better ideas on what to trade. One thing that we see is folks have a really hard time figuring out what kinds of things to trade on a daily basis. Like, how do you come up with a conviction around the markets? And so we've begun to roll out features that are going to help you understand what assets are the best traders trading. What does the general market think of these things? Is there any immediate news relevant to an asset you hold that you should be thinking about? People get caught off guard by this stuff all the time. If Donald Trump made his own meme coin, literally on this call at this very second, how long would it take each of us to figure that out and make that trade? And would we be too late? These kinds of things we are trying to work into the app so that you stop missing opportunities and you're able to react in live time, as well as figure out, what are really smart people doing in the markets? Can I understand that quickly and make an educated decision on whether or not I want to copy that? And then thirdly, is these AI trading strategies. We want to let you go into this app and we want you to be able to say, I have a vision of how to trade. It goes something like this. I want to track earnings calls for top AI stocks. If they beat the earnings call by over 5% of the expectation, I want to buy that right now with 5x leverage. I want to hold that till I make a 20% profit, and then I want to get out automatically. And I don't want to have to be there to worry about it. I don't want to have to code. I don't want to have to do a bunch of math. I just want it to, I want it to work. I want to give the vision, and I want AI to fill in the details. So those are the three things we have in the immediate pipeline. And Harvey, feel free to jump in on that next question or start opening it up to the audience here. And I think while we're waiting for him to jump back on, worth noting, we do have points live in the app. What we do with those points will also be determined in the next few months. So you can get into the app and start earning points by trading today and kind of get early positioning on the rewards we give there.
Yeah, I was saying I was asking my question. I didn't know I was muted. So sorry about that. So let's talk about the the vision for next year. So if we were to host, for example, we were to host another AMA with you 1 year from now, what like achievements or milestones would you hope to be discussing with the community at that time?
Yeah, totally. It's a good question. I think the answer for us is relatively simple. We want to have strong trading presence in many countries. So, I think a success criteria for us in a year's time would be something like, 1,000, very active traders across at least 10 different countries. So meaning, 10,000 total traders. They're finding use for this app in India, in China, in Argentina, in Colombia, proving out that thesis that we can open up trading access to a lot of different countries. And then two, just be able to prove that we have sort of listened to users, gotten the feedback they want into the app, and that this trading app has strong community around it. People appreciate and sort of join in on the ethos and the thesis that we have around creating an app that's actually built for traders to win, something that feels like it's built for them and personalized to their needs. And so I think those are the two major things. And, obviously the overarching success signal there is trading volume. I hope that we can be doing millions of dollars of trading volume per day is kind of that ultimate goal. But the only way we get there is by making this trading app something that all of you guys, find incredibly useful and better than your current trading app. Harvey, you may be on mute again.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so this is gonna be all from my side. So before we head on to the community question, have you guys done like merchandise for 10x already, or maybe it's in your roadmap as well?
Merchandise is something we are thinking about. It's not something that we've done yet. I would say that, I can certainly commit to you guys if you're very active traders, if you use the app, I'll get you some free merchandise for sure. We really want to go out of our way to be rewarding, folks that are, becoming power traders and appreciating the app. So merchandise is definitely on the horizon, and we're happy to hear ideas on what that would look like and what people want to see. And certainly want to be giving our loyal users merchandise as soon as it's possible.
All right, so guys, you can all raise up your hands if you have any questions. I can see. Let's go with Sophia. Let's go with Sophia first. Ladies first. So Sophia, your mic is unmuted. You can drop your question.
Hi.
I think you cut it out a little bit.
Can you guys hear me now?
Of course.
Think so. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we've seen a lot of people downloading trading apps, making a few bad trades and even losing money and never come back. How does 10 times plan to keep beginners engaged long enough to actually become successful traders instead of just quitting after their first losses?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, I mean, the honest context to that is, we suffer from that too. I think, that is particularly a difficult problem to solve for leverage trading apps, because when you use leverage, you have a much higher chance of wiping out, because the profit is a lot higher, but so is the risk. And so we do see users kind of get a few great trades in, they get very confident, and then they put all of their money on one trade that has 10x leverage that doesn't go their way. They didn't use stop loss or take profit. They didn't have a clear sort of insight onto when they were going to get out, and they end up kind of getting their entire position wiped. The way that we try and solve that is, a couple things. One, it's about helping people find that next opportunity. It's like, okay, what news is coming up that we can help surface to you to get you that first winning trade? What new market is available that maybe wasn't available before? So, one example of this is, we were able to get a lot of traders like that to come back and make another trade despite a big loss, when we added SpaceX before the IPO, because they saw that and they said, okay, well, this is one of the only places that I can access SpaceX already, and this is worth me kind of getting back into the markets and trying again. So the major answer there is, getting new opportunities into the app and communicating that to users.
Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you so much for your question, Sophia and Andre. I think Andre left out. Uh, Andre, if you're there, you can unmute your mic and ask your question.
Looks like maybe we have a question from Leon the professional here.
Okay. Right. You can ask your question now, Leon. Your mic is muted.
Hello guys, how are you doing?
Good to meet you, man.
So my question is, what makes your project different and similar than other projects in this space?
Yeah, totally. It's a fundamental one for sure. In terms of what makes us different, what makes us different is one, track record. I think a lot of startup apps out there don't really have any reason for you as a trader or user to believe that the app is going to be around in a year. The team hasn't really built anything else in the space. They don't really have a face behind the company. They're not willing to come on an AMA like this and answer your questions. And so you kind of have to take a leap of blind faith. Whereas we put a lot of effort into building up that trust with people, building that track record, and making sure that people feel, a degree of certainty that this app is, going to work for them for the long run. And so trust is one big differentiator that we're really pushing on. And I think secondarily, value alignment, really trying to build this app in a way that doesn't extract value, but tries to add value. So, really deprioritizing the fees and instead prioritizing, the trader experience, the ease of use, and the things that users actually care about. In terms of what is similar, similar is, all the bare bone functionality. Obviously, there are other Hyperliquid apps out there, the trading execution, the onboarding, the feature set, these are things that most trading apps are competing on, including us. And so kind of matching what everyone else has out there and trying to add something new or something enhanced that, these other apps have not sort of either thought about, don't have the bandwidth for, or just couldn't really care to add because they don't see how it'll sort of improve their profits.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for answering me, and I wish you all success and good luck in your project, guys. Thanks.
Of course. Thank you for the question. It looks like we may have lost our moderator here. Let's see if he returns. Let's see that Andre may be back and ready for a question. I wish I had the ability to give you the speaking floor, Andre, but I don't. We're going to need the host. Well, in the meantime, while we're wrapping up here, really do appreciate everyone here who's joined in and listened. And my ask to you all would be try the app out, make a few trades. This is an app and a team that's gonna listen to your feedback and try and make the app exactly what you want it to be. So if you want an app that's going to be responsive and helpful to you, we're the team for that. And so I hope that all of you guys will open up a trade and give the app a try and send me your feedback. And, I'm eager to hear what you guys think and help you guys make money in the markets and also reward you along the way. We do reward active traders and give trading bonuses periodically to folks that are, getting use out of the app and consistently trading. So, I look forward to all of you giving the app a try and appreciate all of you jumping on. And, we're on X. Again, our app is live in the iOS App Store. So if you're on an iPhone, you can search up 10X Trading. That's 10, not spelled out, but the actual numbers, 10X Trading. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on a website. If you're inside of WorldCoin, we have an app live there. We also have a desktop app attached to our website. Our website is 10xperps.xyz. And pumped to have you guys all join in the community and keep the feedback and ideas coming.
All right. Thank you for your speech, Lucas. And to wrap things up, that brings us to the end of the AMA with the next team. So first, I'd like to extend a special thank you to Lucas Harris, founder of 10X, for joining us today and taking the time to share the story behind the platform, its vision, and the exciting developments ahead. So we truly appreciate the openness and the valuable insight you shared with our community. I'd also like to thank everyone who joined us, submitted also questions, and stayed ahead and engaged throughout the session. Your participation basically is what make this conversation meaningful and worthwhile. So today's discussion gave us like a closer look at how 10X is approaching the future of trading and the challenges of making advanced tools more accessible to everyday traders and everyday users. So it's a pleasure learning more about the journey and the direction of the project from its founder as well. So be sure to stay connected with 10X team and follow their project as they continue building and rolling out new features. So on behalf of the entire Chainreach community, thank you all for spending part of your day with us. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more insightful conversation with builders and innovators across the ecosystem. So until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you guys on the next AMA. Bye bye.